I'm a boat builder. It's a tough job that takes time, patience, and precision. It's also incredibly rewarding. How many people can say they built a boat from scratch? In our area, there's a great need for people who can build and repair boats. I turned my love for life on the water into a career that I truly enjoy. I went to CFCC for 2 years, got my training, and now I look forward to work every day. You can too. Visit cfcc.edu/boatbuilding and get started today.
Folks, you know you're all looking for that special gift. Lines are long, traffic is frustrating, supply chains in the news. Just take a deep breath. If you're anywhere near Oak Island, come by Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive. Avoid the traffic, the lines, the frustration, and get that extraordinary and special gift. From high-end diamond rings to Larimar, from necklaces to bracelets, watches, and unique jewelry. And you also get one-on-one service with their experienced staff. Great prices now, just in time for the holidays. Come by and check out Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Good morning, boys and girls. That's right, kids. Up and at 'em. You're going to miss the bus. It's that type of day where you're going to want some oatmeal and hot coffee. Screaming in at 30 degrees outside. And you're with the asylum. Welcome. The doors are open. The coffee is cold. And we make the oatmeal with toilet water. I'm kidding. Yes, indeed. 30 degrees outside. That's pretty cold. Man. This is winter. I mean, you know, Kentucky just got blanketed by snow. The Northeast got blanketed by snow. Sorry. Not sorry. That's why we're here. We have a friend of mine who texted me from Mississippi. He's not going to be getting any snow. I don't know why he's in Mississippi, for God's sakes. We could have done you better out here. Anyway, let me see if this other stuff works. Nope, not that one. Yep, that one works. And how about this? Oh, yeah. Awesome. Oops, nice. Been working on some programming, some other tricks and tips, techniques. Because it may be that I'm not around forever and somebody needs to drive this boat after me. And that's why it's set up this way. Tuesday morning, keeping the dream alive. Tell you what, this gig is not for the weak. You actually have to get up and take care of yourself and do your own thing and make your own coffee. There's nobody waking me up. I set an alarm like a big boy. Come on, you popcorn kids. Yeah, we want it now. I don't want to work for it. I don't want to read. You should just, do it. I should push a button and then 1 minute later it's done. Why do I have to wait a whole week to see a TV show? Why can't I binge watch them all at once? The entire planet's existence is here for my entertainment. I'm not satisfied. I want to see the manager. I'd say we become a bunch of whiny little Keiths and Karens. I don't know about this Clay Aiken guy running for office. He just doesn't seem like he's got the background to be in politics. Just because you're popular on a singy-songy show playing a couple of chords, one-trick pony, does not mean that you should be in office. And I'm hoping North Carolina realizes this. It has nothing to do with his lifestyle. It just has to do with a guy that's trying to instant gratification his way into a popularity contest. Oh, look, I won on The Voice. That makes me qualified to be a congressman or a senator. To hell it does. Right? I mean, I get it. You won a primary a few, what is that, 2014? Was that 8 years ago? But that does not in any way qualify you as a representative or senator, does it? I mean, if that's true, I would be the ultimate representative for the state of North Carolina. Because I hate everybody who comes into this place who's not here and does not understand their position as a tourist. Pay money, say thank you, go home. Simple as that. Don't pick up somebody else's shoes and dance around in them. I don't care how big of a person you are in your hometown. Those were my shoes. If your wife is that drunk, you need to just lay her down in the hotel room and let her sleep it off. Because at no time should it be okay to just put on somebody else's shoes and walk off. No. This is behavior you wouldn't tolerate from your own children, yet you're going to let your drunk wife do that. Okay. But no, I don't think that being on, well, I don't even remember the name of the show that he was on, but to go from reality pop star with your 15 minutes of fame into representing who we are in North Carolina and the complexity of the issues that we face just doesn't add up. I'm sorry. Go home, Clay. You got a few more chords to learn. You got a little more life to live before you have any inkling on how to handle or represent the people here. And that goes back to part of my rant of just not letting stupid people become famous. You don't elect stupid people. Just stop it. Stop electing stupid people. I'm not saying Clay is stupid. I am saying Clay's inexperience in this realm is a stupid decision to try and run. We need people who understand what's going on here. People who have a history of serving. He doesn't serve, he demands. He's a diva because he won a little music program and now he's eligible. Okay, I'll take all of that back if you show me something that puts him strong enough in the political arena to go up against some of the people that are doing this as a real job. We keep nominating people that have no business being in the business. And we continue to elect corrupt people that have been in this office in their office for so long that they could retire on just the money they make from being a senator or representative. That needs to stop, and it's up to us. This isn't going to go well unless we learn how to vote intelligently. If you're voting because you like the catchy slogan or the nifty logo, You're the problem. In fact, the problems go so far. Here's an interesting article from ordinary-times.com, written by Michael Siegel, talking about Nick Kristof of Oregon, I believe. Yes. Nick Kristof and the Mussylvania of politics. If any of you remember Rocky and Bullwinkle, you'll get this. He says, sometimes you just have to laugh. Quote, Democratic gubernatorial hopeful Nick Kristof does not meet Oregon's residency requirement to qualify to run for governor. As stated by Secretary of State Shemia Fagan announced Thursday morning, Kristof grew up in Oregon, in rural Oregon, has owned property in the state for decades, and returned to Oregon nearly every summer while working as a New York Times columnist in New York and abroad. He attested that he's been a resident of Oregon long enough to run for its highest office. In ruling, he has not. Election officials in Fagan's office focused on Kristof's record of voting in New York State as recently as 2020, a general election. But they said their case was bolstered by his decision to maintain his New York driver's license through December 2020 and to continue paying New York income taxes well past the November 2019 deadline for a 2022 gubernatorial candidate to establish residency in Oregon. Yeah, let's try and game the system for a job I'm not qualified for. How's that? Kristof, in an announcement that, to judge by appearance, was shot in the lobby of a defunct YMCA in the 1970s, has vowed to fight this, although he has apparently not shared the documents that supposedly prove that he's totally an Oregonian. Absolutely guarantee go Badgers? No, Ducks. Totally go Ducks. This, however, crossed the line into high comedy. As you know, quote, as you all know, I come from outside the political establishment and I don't owe insiders anything, Kristof said. They view my campaign as a threat. This is a bit rich coming from a Harvard graduate who has been front and center of feeding the trafficking hysteria that has resulted in a new war on sex, who has climbed into bed with anti-sex groups like NCOSE, formerly the Morality in Media, and Exodus Cry to push a new moral panic over porn that the political establishment has been delighted to embrace. His work has been praised by no less than Bill Clinton, and he spent years propping up serial liar Somali Mam, and this outsider now thinks that his NYT and Harvard pedigree will let him bypass the normal rule for candidacy. In general, I take an extremely dim view of carpetbagging politicians, including the Oprah-linked doctor trying to pretend he's from my state. Governor's mansions, Senate seats, and even congressional seats shouldn't be a thing where ambitious polls shop around the country until they find an open seat they think they can bamboozle the rubes into handing over. It should be something one seeks because they are invested in that region, know the people there, know their priorities, their values, and their interests. As much as I might dislike, say, Andrew Cuomo, at least he knew the people he was governing. I am more than happy for any state to put the kibosh on this nonsense. And if there's any doubt, I think it should lean against the carpetbaggers. There's still a bit of court fight left on this, so Kristof might get to run for office after all. But for now, the situation with Kristof's residency reminds me a bit of the fictional island of Mussylvania on the old Rocky and Bullwinkle show. Mussylvania was so desolate that the United States constantly insisted that it was part of Canada, while Canada insisted that it was part of the United States. Maybe New York and Oregon can flip a coin, and whoever loses has to claim him. Brutal. But again, here's another example that just because you have a degree doesn't mean you're qualified. And I'll put it on the other side of the coin. It could be that you don't have a degree and you're qualified. But you kind of have to prove yourself first, you know? You don't hire a lifeguard who doesn't have his CPR certs, right? You don't hire a doctor without a medical degree. If you don't have any industry, if you don't have any history in the industry, then why are you here? If you're here to push brooms and learn, that's one thing, right? You're doing your time, you're learning how to do the job, but you don't run for the highest office in the state if you've never led with any effectiveness, like being an HR personnel for a large company. At least that has some relative experience to what's going on in what you're about to do. But no. Personally, I don't think a law degree qualifies you as a representative in any way, shape, or form. Nor do I think winning a music TV show, in which case that show had very little to do with talent and skill and had more to do about selling Doritos and getting people whose careers are washed up out in front of people so that it's like the new Hollywood Squares. Right? Howie Mandel hasn't been relevant in 30 years. Paula Abdul went out in the 80s, man, in the early 90s. She was done. But for her to make some money, she has an agent that's out there hustling. Get her a gig on whatever The Voice or The Challenge or whatever the latest, and whatever, because it's done by license. So NBC, CBS, and ABC can all have the same show. They just can't call it the same thing. It's like Dancing with the Stars. Let's take people whose careers are washed up and are an embarrassment to their own families and parade them around with people who actually studied and learned how to dance. Ludicrous. And yet we're the type of people who think, oh, hey, this would be a great representative for my... Let's hire this kid who's just, going from gig to gig. Maybe he wins a bartender contest next. Right? What credentials do we have for him other than, I've been on TV, so I know how to use a microphone? That's not a very, encouraging experience for a representative, at least in my opinion. I want to be represented by somebody who knows the area, knows the people, and knows the process. Someone who's done some, behind-the-scenes work, has had to answer phones, sweep the floor, who's had to do actual work. We try so hard sometimes, Do what you can with what you got. And before you know it, it's time to take a break. Yeah, it's a little early, but it's a little early. So we'll be right back after these messages.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. Investigators are trying to determine why safety doors failed to close in a New York City high-rise when a deadly fire broke out. The failures allowed thick smoke to billow through the tower and kill 17 people, including 8 children, in the city's deadliest blaze in more than 3 decades. Fire officials determined that an electric space heater started the fire Sunday in the 19-story building. President Joe Biden in recent days has signaled out the protection of voting rights in the U.S. as a top priority. He's heading to Georgia with the vice president this afternoon to help cement that point. Civil rights activists are afraid it may already be too late. While in Atlanta, Biden will visit Ebenezer Baptist Church. Major civil rights groups say they need action, not another speech. Former American Idol runner-up Clay Aiken says he's running for Congress again in North Carolina, this time hoping to succeed the retiring U.S. Representative David Price. Aiken announced his bid for the 6th district seat in the Research Triangle area yesterday. Aiken has had a career in music, theater, and reality shows, but also won the Democratic nomination for another district in 2014 before losing in the general election. Aiken would be the first openly LGBTQ person elected in Congress from the South if he won. In New Hanover County, development on the west bank of the Cape Fear River could bring hotels, housing, office space, and retail, but the plans come with plenty of pushback from environmentalists. Last night, New Hanover County commissioners were set to discuss some of those plans. At the beginning of the meeting, commissioners unanimously voted to table the discussion on the potential development. And finally, a Brunswick County woman won a $1 million lottery prize. Wendy Diaz of Southport tried her luck on a $10 scratch-off ticket and won the prize. Diaz chose the lump sum of $600,000. Congratulations. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. The Humphreys Law Firm is located in Lumina Station, Wilmington, North Carolina, practices civil litigation, intellectual property, commercial, and residential real estate. Please give us a call at 910-332-0721 or visit us on our website, which is www.humphreysfirm.law. You can also listen to me every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
If you want to talk about culture and politics without all the caterwauling, then you'll love Hertel Radio with me, your host, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning, 6 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m. right here on the Big Talker. Catch it on the Listen Live tab on the app or watch on the Facebook page.
Folks, you know you're all looking for that special gift. Lines are long, traffic is frustrating, supply chains in the news. Just take a deep breath. If you're anywhere near Oak Island, come by Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive. Avoid the traffic, the lines, the frustration, and get that extraordinary and special gift. From high-end diamond rings to Larimar, from necklaces to bracelets, watches, and unique jewelry. And you also get one-on-one service with their experienced staff. Great prices now, just in time for the holidays. Come by and check out Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive.
That's for my friend Yael. Back when the American Music Award was awarded to a French pair of idiots wearing motorcycle helmets and spray-on bodysuits. I mean, how does that happen? They're not even American. They win the American Music Awards. Get out of here. Go home. Go make them freedom fries. Unbelievable. But that's who we are. We have a guy who's trying to run for governor in Oregon, and the state has said, hey, you're not eligible because you didn't pay taxes here, you don't live here, you don't have a license here. You might own land here, but you haven't been here in 20 years. But hey, yeah, you know, we'll just let anybody. I mean, as much as we all love Arnold Schwarzenegger, the best he can do is be governor of California. He can never be president of the United States. I mean, that's the way it is, you know? You're born here, you can do that. If you're not born here, the best you can do is represent. And even then, I think we could do a better job of representing. But as far as being represented, how do we determine that? Because obviously not everyone can be in the chambers to discuss an issue. So the idea is that we're supposed to elect people to represent our ideas and our views and argue for that in whatever chambers they're in. However, if the people representing us are millionaires who have never had to stress a mortgage payment, then they're not representing us. They're representing people who already have money, who already don't have problems. We need people who understand what it's like to struggle between making rent and paying for medicine or health care. We need people who understand that the struggle is very much real and that life doesn't center around real estate, right? I mean, it's a lot of I would even say from the governor down is looking at real estate as a printing press for money. Problem is that money's not going to go anywhere where it's going to help people. It's going into the pockets of people who already have it and have no interest whatsoever in helping anyone else around them. Gaming the game, so to speak. But hey, that's the way it goes sometimes. That's who we are as a species. That's what we do. That's who we are. Not getting a lot of hope from these guys. That's cool. One other person watching. I'm hoping it's CIL so he can appreciate the music I gave him. Played for him anyway. Oh, come on, iPad. I'm trying to come up with nifty stories to read, and the Gorilla Glass cover I put on here is still not working. I mean, it works really well that nothing will ever scratch or hurt this screen, but the problem is can't click on anything anymore. Do what you can with what you got. Will Truman writes Take Two. Article written by Will Truman in the ordinary-times.com called Fixing the College Football Postseason. I'm not a big college guy. Not even a big football guy. Certainly not the NFL, a tax-free organization raking in billions of dollars a year and pays absolutely no taxes on anything they buy for it. So the next time you buy a jersey with the Panthers logo on it, realize you're paying an extra $10, $15 just for the license of that logo that's going into somebody's pocket tax-free. That's who we are. It is commonly said, to begin the article, it is commonly said that college football has the best regular season followed by the worst postseason. These are perhaps not unrelated phenomena, as the lack of a robust playoff structure, bad postseason, at the end of the season might make the regular season more intense than any other sport has to offer, best regular season. For the longest time, it was the only major sport at any level without any sort of playoff system, wherein the champions were decided by news reporters and polling coaches. Eventually, there was another round added to create a 4-team playoff, which people hope would improve the postseason by reducing controversy over who the national championship, while leaving the rest intact with an important regular season and preserving the bowl system. It succeeded only in reducing controversy, went out of its way to fail at maintaining the importance of the regular season, and, in combination with other factors, completely failed at the third part. The good news is that year in and year out, we have a national champion and comparatively little controversy over it. The devaluation of the regular season, though, and the collapse of bowl relevance essentially leave a system with one happy team and sometimes a conference of teams that dramatically overestimate the value of association, and the rest having failed at the only thing that matters. It has produced some boring games and also led to stagnant television ratings and fan interest in the championship game, the viewership of which has not moved since the 4-team tournament was implemented. In my view, the bowl system is actually underrated, preferably not only the current playoff, but fun in its own right. But that ship has sailed. As soon as ESPN got the contract for the playoff, they geared all of their promotion towards it. Who's in? They asked. Age-old rivalries were presented in the context of playoff, even when neither team had a chance of making it in because of what effect their rivalry game would have on strength of scheduling of the teams in championship contention that actually mattered. Meanwhile, the NCAA challenged a bunch of rules that pushed players and teams to make decisions more quickly, including the hiring and firing of coaches, players announcing their intent to transfer or enter the draft, and so on. These changes originally occurred before the bowl games that are increasingly taking place during the regular season itself. Among teams outside of championship contention, of course, none of these changes can be undone, and some were inevitable with or without a playoff. Even though I was against the creation of a playoff, I believe at this point the only way forward is to lean into it. The main argument against doing so, apart from bowls, is the importance of the regular season. As it happens, though, the 4-team playoff destroyed that as well, with the myopic focus of who's in meant that the playoff criteria would be the most important thing, and the playoff criteria attached little importance to a lot of regular season achievements. Losing games didn't matter if the playoff committee decided it didn't reflect on the quality of your team. Conference championships are neither necessary nor sufficient to make the tournament. The result is that most years only 3 conference championships are included, and even among the Power 5 conferences, the Pac-12 rarely makes the playoffs, and the Big 12 and ACC only do so inconsistently. A lot of words. What'd you? Last year, a proposal was put forth by an exploratory committee for a 12-team playoff. This turned out to be a surprisingly good number that allow the system to incorporate conference championship, allow a G5 team in, provide enough at-larges to keep the strongest conferences happy without overrunning the tournament with mediocre teams on their 5th mulligan. 8 meant tough decisions regarding conference champions and at-larges, while 16 lets in an awful lot of teams with weak claims to a shot at the title given that they were not especially competitive for even their conference championships. We also have experience with 12 teams because that's how many teams make the top tiers of bowls, using roughly the same criteria proposed last summer. Unfortunately, discussions broke down recently over what amounts to relatively small details over which teams are included and a few other bits. One example of the latter is whether games are played on campus stadiums and what place bowl games have in the system. Most specifically, the Rose Bowl and its traditional New Year's Day scheduling and Pac-12 versus Big Ten matchup. On the one hand, it wouldn't be that hard to incorporate bowl games. Just put most of the games at a neutral site, slap the bowl name on them, and go. On the other hand, bowls are among the things that have made college sports unique, and the history is pretty intense. To be honest, an Orange Bowl between Texas A&M and Wake Forest is really just kind of sad, and a perfectly seeded playoff system with home field advantage mirroring the NFL's kind of sterile and inappropriate for a league that is different in many important ways. I believe, however, that we can thread the needle of tradition and progress here. The idea originally came from a proposal on Twitter that I liked a lot, but believe needs a few tweaks. And he talks a lot about the teams that played one another during the regular season should be scheduled away from one another in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs where possible without moving teams more than one place in the seeding or flipping home field advantage. The Rose Bowl bracket always includes the Big Ten and Pac-12 champions in opposing sub-brackets. The Sugar Bowl bracket always includes the SEC champion. That's a lot of data. And I don't think, that's a lot of love for college football right there. More so than I could ever put into it. because it's just not that important. Now here's I'm gonna see what this one's about. If it'll load. Here we go. I am not gonna pronounce her name right. Mara Alwyn. Local gets things done. As Tip O'Neill is quoted at the top of this article, all politics are local. Have we not been saying that on this station since I took over? Yeah, that's right. Change does not start in Washington. It begins at the municipal and county level. If this sounds ludicrous, consider the patchwork of cannabis laws across the United States right now. Federally, it is a Schedule I drug, and possession could land you tens of years in a federal prison. But in Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Illinois, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Montana, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, and the District of Columbia, it is legal to possess and use as you see fit as long as the feds don't catch you. So why is it legal in those 18 states? Because voters took the initiative to lobby their state senators and representatives, and in some cases their right to force the question, should cannabis be legal in our state, to the voters via initiative petition drives. But Maura, there are still a lot of states where it isn't legal. Yes and no. There are an additional 15 states where it is legal for medicinal use, thus leaving 17 states where it is illegal, or 34% of the states, roughly a third. The point here is that lobbying the federal government for anything is pointless unless you have a very large purse. Now, local is a much more doable route. And if a concerted effort were to be put forth, we the people could force an amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Wait, Maura, only Congress can change the Constitution of the United States. Nope, the states also have that power. The Constitution provides that an amendment may be proposed either by Congress with a two-thirds majority vote in both the House of Representatives and the Senate, or by a constitutional convention called for by two-thirds of the state legislatures. Honestly, this is probably a less Herculean task today than it would have been in the past. There's a downside to a convention of the states. We don't know for certain what will come out. The last time a convention happened was in May of 1887. Madam, you forgot to capitalize the month. Was in May of 1887. Although they had gathered to revise the Articles of Confederation, by mid-June they had decided to completely redesign the government. The outcome was our current Constitution of the United States. One could imagine what would come out today if very strict tar and featherable offenses were not spelled out to the delegates beforehand. For example, do not change any of the existing amendments. Stick strictly to the list provided. Do not try and sneak anything in. Each amendment shall be written in plain U.S. English. No foreign words, no uncommon among the general population terms or words, and no Latin. No carve-out exceptions for anyone or anything. No carving out exceptions, I think is what she meant. No amendment shall exceed 1/2 of one typed page on 8.5 by 11 paper with half-inch margins all the way around, single space, set in no less than 14-point Garamond font. Delegates should be randomly chosen from among the general population of the state and shall not currently or previously hold any public office, be it elected, appointed, or hired in. So what issues need to be addressed in this script? Well, ballot zombies, or dead persons that are not cleared from the ballot rolls. Executive dictatorship, or any governmental person using executive order to circumvent Congress. Ballot harvesting, or persons who are not sworn to duty by their Secretary of Election to collect ballots in an official capacity. In addition to the Fourth Amendment, which currently reads as follows: the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Now, what would the addendum add? To be secure in our digital persona and possessions, to ban civil asset forfeiture. About right to privacy. This shall apply to all of our issues, be they medical, digital, anything identifying such as digital searches, our home addresses, credit checks not signed off for by us. This list can and should be exhaustive. Reciprocity between states. That is, if you have a DUI in North Carolina and Florida, you should not be able to go to South Carolina and get a license. Get with it, South Carolina. You're licensing bad drivers just because you want money. Reciprocity between states. I like that one. Term limits for all congresspersons so that no congressperson shall exceed 12 years in office, be it by vote or appointment. It should be the House, too. Termination of all congressional pay, health care, pensions in any form on the congressperson's last day of office. If Social Security is good enough for the population, then it is good enough for them. Amen. All laws must be sunset and shall last no more than 20 years from date of effect. They cannot be reauthorized and must be fully re-voted upon and re-signed by the president every time. All governmental divisions shall fall under the purview of Congress, and as such, their administrators shall be dischargeable or impeachable by a vote of Congress. There shall be no immunity from prosecution for any official who fails to do their job while upholding an oath to the Constitution of the United States. There should also be an end to qualified immunity. Also, make it a high crime for any law enforcement personnel to have any form of sex with any suspect or person in custody, with no exceptions. Senators and representatives shall be subject to recall by their states and by initiative petition by their constituents. We don't like you, we get you out. No person working for the federal government shall invest in publicly traded stocks or bonds, be they foreign or domestic. Congressional salaries shall be fixed to no more than 150% of the average hourly constituent of the area they represent. Presidential salary shall be fixed to 200% of the average Social Security beneficiary. I don't think they should even be paid, ladies and gentlemen. Right? I mean, that's your civic duty. If you want to be in office, I'll get on that in a minute. In order to curtail their lobbying efforts and bring control back to the local level, Congress shall meet virtually from their local offices, and shall not keep an office or domicile within the greater metropolitan area of the District of Columbia unless their district happens to be in that area. Statehood shall be offered to Puerto Rico and all U.S. holdings. I'm sure most of you could add to the list, but it's a beginning, and if we could get the states in place to do this, we may start to wrestle some semblance of control back from the federal beast again. Is it a pipe dream? Maybe. But this would be basically a revolution without firing a shot, where no one gets more than their feelings hurt, and where we can honestly say we the people, in order to make a more perfect union, did something other than complain to the void. Good girl. You don't leave a diaper on a baby for 12 hours. 12 years is more than long enough. That's 2 administrations minimum. Because even if you're elected on the same year as a president who gets reelected, your 12-year, 2-term time limit still exceeds the 8 years that a president can serve. Therefore, it still serves the purpose for which it was intended. That the administration can't pack the court, as it were, in their own favor. At least that's the plan. Let's get back to the pay. What are we paying them for? I mean, I'd like to get with somebody smart who knows how to get the paperwork to show me the attendance records for these people. And I guarantee you, if they had the same attendance records at a regular corporate public gig, they would not have a job for very long. The entire incentive should be more like a teacher. You're doing it because it's a noble thing to do. It's not something you should get rich on. And I totally agree with being divested from anything. Perhaps when you're elected, you have holdings and you have stocks and IPOs and whatever else, and you just sort of put them on the shelf. Just, you don't have to not own them. You just can't do anything when you can't do any active trading. You can't hire somebody to do that. Just put it on a shelf. Just let it sit there. That while you're in office for 12 years, it's on autopilot. Nobody touches it. You don't get dividends. They just roll back in. When you're out of office, and you can play in the stock market again. And I think crimes of any sort of insider information and corruption should be met with extreme prejudice. Make it a high crime for any, as she puts it, make it a high crime for any law enforcement personnel to have any form of sex with any suspect or person in custody with no exceptions. Anybody in law enforcement or legislation caught doing stupid stuff should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law and be stripped of any and all protections. Right? I mean, I can get it. I understand that, say you're a representative and you slip on the ice and you accidentally spear somebody with your antenna or with your umbrella and you kill them. That would be a legitimate accident. But in the case of any other issue, it should be processed and tried as an actual crime. And then you can go with the aggravated because you're using the power of your position in office. And of course, it's hard to deter people when the for-profit prison system isn't really rehabilitating people as it is just filling up the holes, filling up the beds like a hospital, and then charging the state for it. That makes sense. No. We need something far more aggressive. Almost along the lines of a Clockwork Orange. In some cases, it's almost necessary. In others, just throw the rats into a box and close the lid. They'll take care of themselves. A lot of options. A lot of opportunity for change, growth. But certainly throwing money at it, just throwing money at it doesn't help. Being effective in your plan, and coming up with an approach, and being diligent with that approach of focusing and addressing one issue at a time. Stop with this trying to put 15,000 different things to appease each person into a bill. No. If we're addressing this issue, then no other issue should be in here. Enough of that crap. And there should be no lobbying, no PACs, no super PACs, no political action committees, campaign finances. You can eliminate a lot of the corruption and eliminate a lot of the flotsam just by taking money out of politics. I would even go so far as to dissolve the DNC and the RNC and say, all right, this is going to be by recommendation from the constituents, because it is the constituents who are being represented, not the DNC. The DNC is trying to determine what is being represented, not who. We, the people, in order to form a more perfect union, did not create this. It was the people in power that created the DNC to maintain power in that little realm. Same with the RNC. Remove all political advertisements and replace them with scheduled, properly moderated debates. Because that shit show that was on air for the 2016 election would have been shut down within the first 5 minutes. I'm sorry, if you can't debate by the rules, you're out. You're not even considered for you're not even a candidate. You have lost that. You're done. There's 330 million of us in this country. It's time to find better people. It's time to elect better people. It's time to encourage better people. It's time to encourage and vote for real leaders, proven leaders, people that are actually interested in the success of this country rather than their own personal success. Politics is not meant to be a career. It's meant to be a service journey. Much like anybody who's been in recovery, service work is where the real connections begin. But if your service work is based on how much your return is going to make on the stocks because of some insider information, or whether you're going to be able to eat at a nice restaurant because somebody donated $50 to your campaign, all of that needs to stop. If we eliminate 90% of what the oversight issues are with this country, we would eliminate most of the issues with this country. As has been proven time and again, money is the root of all evil, and certainly in politics has it never been truer. "12 years, no money. I guarantee you we will have a shift in people who are interested in doing the work. But right now, it's a power grab. It's a popularity contest. Has absolutely nothing to do with what people actually need. The constituents, right? Those people, right? The ones who live in this country and other than Donald Trump actually pay their taxes. Wouldn't that be a little more sensible? Wouldn't that be a little more realistic? You know, the one thing that I find interesting is that we don't have a lot of representatives in either the House or the Senate who can speak more than one language. Me, 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 me. We have a couple of Spanish speakers. You know, there's just not a lot of diversity. We're supposed to be a diverse nation, and yet our diversity in representation is severely lacking. And again, I get back to what are we paying them for? I mean, the work? No. The work is service work. That's, you know, it's basically glorified voting. People voted for you to vote for them, if that makes sense. We're not paid to vote, so why the hell are you paid to vote? You don't pay for anything. You don't pay for food. You don't pay for health care. You don't pay for transportation. You don't pay for security. You don't pay for housing. Why then are we paying you an exorbitant amount of money to not even show up to work? That's sort of counterproductive to the entire process. And just imagine how millions of dollars a year paid in salaries to people that don't even show up or use their little power to get what they want out of the situation, not worrying about how it affects other people. They've become so disconnected from the rest of the real world, they no longer have anything to offer as a representative. But that's who we are. To all my people that are having a hard time this particular season with the latest variant,
Feel better, feel good, feel wonderful. Feel better, good, feel wonderful. Hey, I can tell by the
Keeping Leland informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
MusicRewind.com and Mantovani, the legendary composer and conductor, along with his orchestra, bring you an amazing compilation of timeless instrumental hits on 2 CDs. Get Mantovani Moon River, a collection of 50 of his most popular recordings for the amazingly low price of $17.98 at MusicRewind.com. Or call 800-206-5002. Order now and receive a bonus of reduced shipping. Just enter or mention coupon code SONG55. That's musicrewind.com or call 800-206-5002. Don't forget coupon code SONG55 for reduced shipping. This offer is available for a limited time to U.S. residents only and cannot be combined with any other offer.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. Investigators are trying to determine why safety doors failed to close in a New York City high-rise when a deadly fire broke out. The failures allowed thick smoke to billow through the tower and kill 17 people, including 8 children, in the city's deadliest blaze in more than 3 decades. Fire officials determined that an electric space heater started the fire Sunday in the 19-story building. President Joe Biden in recent days has signaled out the protection of voting rights in the U.S. as a top priority. He's heading to Georgia with the vice president this afternoon to help cement that point. Civil rights activists are afraid it may already be too late. While in Atlanta, Biden will visit Ebenezer Baptist Church. Major civil rights groups say they need action, not another speech. Former American Idol runner-up Clay Aiken says he's running for Congress again in North Carolina, this time hoping to succeed the retiring U.S. Representative David Price. Aiken announced his bid for the 6th district seat in the Research Triangle area yesterday. Aiken has had a career in music, theater, and reality shows, but also won the Democratic nomination for another district in 2014 before losing in the general election. Aiken would be the first openly LGBTQ person elected in Congress from the South if he won. In New Hanover County, development on the west bank of the Cape Fear River could bring hotels, housing, office space, and retail, but the plans come with plenty of pushback from environmentalists. Last night, New Hanover County commissioners were set to discuss some of those plans. At the beginning of the meeting, commissioners unanimously voted to table the discussion on the potential development. And finally, a Brunswick County woman won a $1 million lottery prize. Wendy Diaz of Southport tried her luck on a $10 scratch-off ticket and won the prize. Diaz chose the lump sum of $600,000. Congratulations. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. A cold one on tap across the Cape Fear, likely our coldest day of the winter season thus far, as temperatures struggle to get into the low to middle 40s later this afternoon, despite the sunny skies out there. Heading into the overnight hours tonight, though, we are going to see mostly clear skies, temperatures turning cold once again as we drop all the way down to the low to middle 20s and the upper 20s for coastal areas tonight. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by 2 Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to 2menandatruck.com. 2menandatruck.com.
When I tell people I'm a collision repair technician, they usually say, "Can I get your number?" Sooner or later, they're going to need me. I'm the guy who you call when you had a fender bender, who takes your mangled car and brings it back to its former glory. I absolutely love what I do. I trained at CFCC and had job offers waiting on me when I finished. I make great money and can work anywhere. People rely on me. That's a good feeling. I got my start at CFCC, and you can too. Visit cfcc.edu/trades and get started today.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Listen to Tom Goolsby on The Chad Adams Show.
People with common sense know that the entire theory of socialism is one big lie.
The Big Talker 106.7 FM.
That's right, boys and girls. It's time to get up and get at 'em. The day is getting away from you. Time to catch the bus. Time to get to class. Time to show up for work and get to punch the clock and get to pay. Or you can just join us right here in the asylum on the Big Talker Online. Bigger, badder, stronger than ever. That's right, we have outgrown terrestrial FM radio and have gone straight to the interwebs so that we don't spend exorbitant amounts of money just to be reached in a tiny little spot on a patch of grass on a little tiny island. We can now reach the entire world, so all the issues from Brunswick to Onslow County can all be addressed and fixed and seen right here. Right here on the asylum. Ooh, that looks encouraging. I have to do a little setup here, I think. Give me just a moment, and I think we can get something going here. Come on, sweetie. The joys of behind-the-scenes radio. This is what it takes to get there. This is what it takes to do what is needed. This is how we bring you wonderful, living programming. That's not it. New meeting. I'm going to send an invite to my friend. It usually helps when we have more than one person in here doing things, so I can concentrate on the technical stuff. See if I can't make the happy stuff happen. Trying to make the happy stuff happen. There we go. Allow. Let's double check. Let's make sure you can even hear me. That should be better. Oh, much better. There we go. And we're done with that one. Let's do that. Let's do that. And that. There we go. So, whenever you're ready, my brah, welcome to the asylum. This is who we are. This is what we do. That's what I thought. All right. Had an interesting, only got to catch part of the conversation I heard this morning Andrew Donaldson from ordinary-times.com doing his show Heard Tell was speaking with a guy about Elon, that love him or hate him, at least he is doing something, right? Because at least he's moving forward, trying, moving, doing, pushing, encouraging. And I think we should encourage that ourselves. Can Elon Musk save the planet? Maybe not, but he's doing a hell of a lot better job than these squat truck gas guzzlers. The guys cruising around looking cool in their car. I have to admit, being next to a Tesla at a stoplight is kind of inspiring. Because when they step on the accelerator, that car makes absolutely no noise and just boogies down the road nice and quiet. I mean, it's quieter than my mountain bike, and I used to think of that as the ultimate assassination vehicle. Right? I mean, a person on a mountain bike with a crossbow, no noise. A little bit of chain rattle and a when the arrow takes off, and that's it. That's all the noise there would be. No shot spotter is going to catch that, I guarantee it. But now we got Tesla. There is no startup. No muffler. So you can't make your car all loud and nasty and rude. Disgusting. I still find it, we don't even have the courtesy to not be jerks to each other just in traffic. And yet we're going to try and govern 330 million people by bringing the two worst possible candidates to the forefront, making stupid people famous. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I do find it rather discouraging that this is the type of stuff that we encourage. It's pretty brutal. Pretty brutal. Oh, I didn't know it was so long ago. In our 8 o'clock hour, slowing down a little bit. Coffee's starting to wear off, I guess. Could just be me. Just trying to wake up on what is this, Tuesday morning? I don't even know what day it is. Move Sylvania. Oh. Jaybird at ordinary-times.com. Saturday morning gaming, unraveling a mystery on the Obra Dinn. From the description of the return of Obra Dinn. In 1802, the merchant ship Obra Dinn set out from London for the Orient with over 200 tons of trade goods. 6 months later, it hadn't met its rendezvous point at the Cape of Good Hope and was declared lost at sea. Early this morning of October 14, 1807, the Obra Dinn drifted into port at Falmouth with damaged sails and no visible crew. As insurance investigator for the East India Company's London office, dispatched immediately to Falmouth, find means to board the ship and prepare an assessment of damages. If you have been waiting for a game where you can finally play an insurance investigator, your wait is over. It's your job to go abroad to the Obra Dinn and figure out what the heck happened. Your tools are a map of the journey that was supposed to happen, a map of the ship itself, a manifest of the crew and passengers, and the Memento Mortem, a magical pocket watch that shows what was going on in the moments of and before the death of any given corpse you happen to find aboard. The first thing that you do is to find skeletal remains of somebody on the deck. You have to use your what was that, the magical Memento Mortem. You have to use your and you hear a small cutscene where a couple of guys are trying to break into the captain's quarters. You hear the captain shout at them, and whammo, you are transported to a freeze frame of the moment that this guy got shot. In your book, you have an entry for this guy where you have to enter his name, how he died, shot, and whose agency, the captain's. And at whose agency, the captain's. As the game goes on, you find more skeletal remains and use your tools to figure out exactly what the heck happened to the Obra Dinn. There's a lot of violence, I guess, but you're a passive observer of it. Oh, the captain shot the first guy through the door and then got into a fight with the remaining guys who overcame him. Huh. They're talking about wanting something from the captain. The captain says they're not going to get it. So what is it they wanted? Who is in the bunk? As you investigate each corpse, you learn a little bit more about the doomed trip on... Oh, this person died in a mutiny. That person died when the ship was attacked by a sea monster. Oh, this person froze to death. And if you learn the fate of every person, on the manifest, you're going to have to use deduction. You're going to have to figure stuff out. It's not an action game at all. It's a post-action game. There's horror going on, but you're watching it passively. You're just going to have to figure out what horrible things happened to the Obra Dinn. It's not like anything I've ever played before. So, what are you playing? I kind of like games like that. Myst was probably... Oh, look at that. Admit the boy. I played a number of games that were kind of like that. And it was happening. Let me see if I got this working. Wait a minute. Almost there. Almost there. This machine is giving me fits. Oh, this thing is giving me such fits. I think I have Andrew on the line.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, good morning. How you feeling?
I'm getting there. Still a little shot voice, but we're pushing through it as best we can.
Well, at least I got your voice on here, but we had an interesting issue and lost one of my computer visuals.
No worries. I do not look syndication quality this morning, so it's better to just stay with the voice anyway.
So I read one of the articles on your page earlier today. I'm not sure I pronounced her name correctly. Maury?
Yeah, Mara Owen.
And I agree 90% with what she's talking about as far as like how to redo this whole Constitution of the United States thing.
I agree on doing more local stuff. That's how our system is supposed to be a bottom-up system, not a top-down system. I am very, very leery of the constitutional amendment process for a couple of reasons. Let me detail them out. Issue number one, 84 million people voted for Joe Biden to be president. 76 million odd voted for Donald Trump to be president. I don't want a single one of any of that group of people to touch the Constitution in any way, shape, or form. That's just me. Now, that may be harsh, but I don't trust any of them people to touch the Constitution.
That was not a very good metric.
I'm being a little facetious, but yeah, first of all, I don't know that we'll ever have any more constitutional amendments because I don't think we have the patience as a people and the willpower involved to get those sorts of things done. It is the established process, though. I think she has an excellent point of pointing out that, like, look, if you want to change, here's my thing. Every time we have something like, well, we need to change the Supreme Court, or we need to change the Senate, or there's never any version of those complaints that doesn't have its genius. I don't mean genius as in smart. I mean genius as in how it started. it always starts with my side didn't get what it wants, and I don't think we ever will get what we want, so we have to change the system so that I'll get what I want.
Right.
That's
So
not what that's,
two-thirds majority just doesn't exist anymore.
well, you have to. People just get so mad at this stuff. But look, you, if you don't have a right when you're in a minority, then it's not a right. You know, the minority party or the out of power party should have rights in this country, and it should be hard to pass laws. It shouldn't be easy to pass laws. These things should be thought out. They should be debated. They should have a lot of pressure on them to prove why they are needed. Because as we've seen, there's what's the old Reagan line? You know, there's nothing quite as close to eternal life as a government program or a law or a regulation. Like once these things are endued in the law, it's hard to get them back out. I'm a big fan of gridlock. I think gridlock is our greatest defense against really stupid government. So I'm not against
Unpack that.
gridlock.
I understand gridlock and traffic. Can you unpack it in a political form?
Well, think of it this way. If you're gridlock in traffic, the drunk driver can't get up to 120 miles an hour and kill somebody either because they're all sitting there. We have this thing in Washington. This is why, you know, the midterm is coming up. We're talking about that on tomorrow's show. I'm in the middle of working on it right now. The midterm, cyclically and historically, you know, people are talking about the Republicans are going to do good this year. Well, it's historical and cyclical. When they're completely out of party, there's always an adjustment. There's just this natural ebb and flow to politics in America that tends towards balancing itself out. We don't like one party having too much power. And especially the last 20, 30 years, we've seen that we have a very partisan, divided government and political party. So it's made it worse. Yeah, I hate to break that news to you. But the thing about it is people are like, well, gridlock, this is awful. It's like, well, wait a minute. I understand you're not getting what you think needs to be done. And in some cases, that's not good. But the you know, do you really want FDR style stuff where you had 2/3 supermajority and just slams everything through with almost no debate whatsoever? You know, now our progressive friends will be like, hell yes, do that. But that's never going to happen again. That's not the world we live in right now. You're going to have to compromise. You're going to have to work with both sides. And I'm always going to be reflexively against people who are like, okay, well, we can't do this under the rules, so we should change the rules. Like, well, no. Figure out a way to do it under the rules. Don't just change the rules because you think you're not getting your way, because that just told me you're not interested in the rule of law. You're just interested in getting what you want and the heck with everybody else. And now we've got a problem.
Right. And that's sort of the top-down model.
Correct. And we don't have representative democracy in America was not designed to be a top-down model. It was designed to be a bottom-up model. It was designed to be, you know, local control on as many things as possible, state control on just about all the rest of them, and then everything else that states and local municipalities could not handle. That's what the federal government was supposed to for. It was supposed to fill in the gaps of what they can't handle, and we kind of have that backwards right now.
And that's why no one can be trusted with what's going on.
No, look, there's some things that the federal government does, and nobody, you know, national defense, monetary policy, infrastructure on a national level, like interstates and railways and things like. You know, I'm not with our libertarian friends. We need to have a federal government. You know, we can't abolish the federal government. Sorry, that's not going to happen.
Right, that's just ridiculous to even think of.
However, the federal government has encroached on things that we are supposed to be controlling on the local, state, and municipality levels, and that's not healthy. And we're seeing it. We're going to see it again today because the president's going to be in Georgia talking about elections. No, the federal government should not be running state elections, should not be running local elections. Now, let me caveat that real quick. I understand during the civil rights movements and other times in histories that they needed to because of very specific things, but you need to prove those very specific things like racial animus, like unfairness, like people being disenfranchised before you say the feds need to come in and take something over. Because what happens is the feds take something over, you never get that power back away from them again. But it's just stuff like this. You know, what happened wasn't nefarious. It wasn't a conspiracy theory. It was just some good old-fashioned laziness. People didn't want to do the bare minimum of being a citizen in a democratic representative government. They didn't want to be involved. They didn't want to pay attention. They didn't want to be an informed citizenry. Now we got a big old god-awful hot American mess.
And they're still getting more money and better health care than we ever will to do this.
I'm talking on tomorrow's show. Just got done doing the segment on it right before I got on with you. We're up to 26 Democratic representatives that will not seek re-election in the House of Representatives. Well, why is that? Well, the Republicans are going to steamroll. Well, that's part of it. And then there's redistricting. You were just talking about this morning, North Carolina. You know, the 6th congressional district, and the singing feller who wants to run for election again, even though Renee Elmer's wiped the floor with him. You know, these districts get redrawn, so people want to either not run in them, or they think they have a better chance than they would have because. So there's some of that involved too. But a lot of this is they just see the writing on the wall, and they know they're not going to have the majority anymore. And being in the minority really, really sucks when you don't have any power, don't have a committee, you know, the chairman of a committee, because you can't do anything. You just sit in meetings, and you know, it's kind of a wasted existence. And a lot of these people have other income streams and other things they want to do, and they're just like, heck with it, it ain't worth my time to do it, and they're leaving. So you'll see that big exodus because they're expecting the Republican Party to take the House in 2022. So we'll see what happens. I never downplay the Republicans' ability to blow an easy layup. So you know, they may still screw this up, but historically and cyclically, they should do well. And so a lot of the Democratic reps who aren't the big name, you know, the Pelosi's and these folks who have power, or a Hakeem Jeffries, who's probably the next in line after her, you know, folks that are career congressional folks, they're just like, well, the heck with it. This ain't worth another 2-3 years of my time. I ain't doing this. I'm going to do something else. So that's what's going on there.
So obviously it wasn't so much about doing the service for the American people as it was biding time until the next lucrative opportunity comes along.
And we bash them. I bash our Congress critters because, one, they deserve it, and two, that's what they're there for. But if you're just a backbench Congress person, if you're in the minority, excuse me, my voice is going to go here in a minute. I'm going to try to get a couple more minutes for you. If you're in the minority, it's a grind, man. It's meetings, and you don't have any real power, and you're just, you know, shuffled from one thing to the other, and you got all this stuff to deal with. And, you know, it's kind of a grind, especially if you're a business person or you're used to other things. It sucks. And you're in DC on top of it. So for a lot of these folks, it's just, it's not pleasant for them. You know, we've been talking about Joe Manchin nonstop. Joe Manchin hates being in DC. He just can't stand it. Now he likes it right now because he's the center of attention. But before he was the center of attention, that's why everybody thought he was, including his own wife. But that's another story we'll get to some other day. I still want to know what happened between Friday and Monday, where he was going to run for governor, and Gail was convinced she was moving back to Charleston. All of a sudden, Monday, he's like, I'm staying in the Senate. I'm like, wonder what he got promised. But anyway, I digress. That was his thing. He's like, man, this place sucks. I don't want anything to do with this mess. Now but he's got power right now, so you enjoy it a lot more when you have power and you have the center of attention. That's a different beast. But if you don't have power, DC is not a fun place to be in because you're just chasing it.
And having lunch with everybody else who is already in power.
Well, the thing about it is, it's almost like the military. You're constantly reminded what your rank is. So if your rank ain't real great and you don't have a lot of authority, you're just constantly reminded that you're not very important. So there's a little bit of that involved, and DC is very expensive, even for rich people. DC is very expensive. There's lots of stories of congressional people who just sleep in their offices because they can't afford the rent. So
the struggle is real.
The struggle is real. There's the struggle is very real for them folks, and we bash them, but that's the thing. If the good ones, the good people actually trying to do stuff, it's really hard and almost impossible for them, which is why there's so few good ones. So, you know, it's just something to keep in mind that it's a mess. But yeah, Clay Aiken running for office again is like, really, dude, you got Renee Elmer smoked you right before she got ran out of DC, which let's not get into that. But
now, do you think his running for office, my issue with that is qualification all the way around, regardless of his run in, 2014?
I think so. I forget what year it was, but he ran against Renee Elmers. This is relevant because Renee Elmers got ran out of DC over allegations of an affair with Kevin McCartney, who's the minority leader who is in line to be the Speaker of the House if the Republicans take the House. if his own party doesn't kneecap him, which I think they're going to do because I don't think they like him. So it kind of all goes together. But anyway, he was primary in Renee Elmer's. People remember this, Congresswoman at the time. And then the congressman from down Wilmington way, if you remember, the late great Walter Jones, kneecapped Kevin McCarthy over it and wouldn't let him be the Speaker of the House the last time the Republicans had power, and they had to go get Paul Ryan to do it because Walter Jones kneecapped him very publicly. He's like, no, you're not going to be Speaker. That ain't happening. He fairly or unfairly delved into the Renee Elmer's accusations against her, that her and Kevin McCarthy had not been completely professional. We'll leave it at that. And so this all goes together. But anyway, that was who he was running against. He was running against Renee Elmer's. This is the triangle. It's obviously changed demographically a lot the last couple of years. He's really playing up the LGBTQ angle that was actually on the news clip WWAY was playing. I
don't even think that's relevant.
Around here in this day of age, I really don't think it is. Of course, the research triangle is very progressive, very socially liberal. That's nobody's going to bat an eye over his orientation or preferences. No, I don't think anybody really cares, and I mean that in a good way. I just don't think it's an issue in that part of the state. They're very tolerant up that way, so I don't think that's going to be enough. That's a savvy voting bloc in that part of the North Carolina, the research triangle. Remember, you're getting ready to get all these Apple people in here starting this year too. Our buddy John McCumber, that's been on the old morning show. You remember John being on with us a couple times. He just sold his house in Cary for something like 37% over the asking price. They just called him in the middle of the night and offered him, like, give us a number, and the realtor, just off the top of her head, joking about it, is like, well, give me this number. And it was like, this ridiculous number, and they're like, yep, have a check tomorrow. Like, wait, what? Sold his house 37% over the asking price, cash up front. Like,
that's not a bad way to go.
No, but you got all these Apple people coming in. Google's expanding. The research triangle is just ridiculous right now in its growth, and that's where he's going to be running for. So it's a different demographic. He may do well. We'll see. But again, it's going to be a tough year for Democrats. So he probably didn't pick the best year, but he did pick a district where you would think, at least on paper, he would at least be competitive.
Right.
Because it's a blue district that's getting bluer by the minute. So we'll see what happens. And look, even people that I don't like or don't respect, don't think I should be running. If you put your name out there and you stand for election, I got to give you at least that much respect. But yeah, I don't think he has a qualification. I don't know that he has a message.
Does he have any qualifications?
Not that I'm
I mean, he's
aware
been on a
of.
reality show, but I don't know of him holding any leadership positions or any.
Yeah, and I mean, that was 10, 12 years ago, so I don't know what he's been doing in the interim. But it is name recognition and things like that. But that voting block in the, those are really, it's a very progressive area. Those are really smart people in that district. Like, I don't know that a celebrity candidacy is going to carry the weight in that sort of I don't think that constituency really cares about celebrity, because they're pretty savvy. Do you think
that's pretty much the only thing he's running on, really, is?
Yeah, I mean, that's all he's got. Which, I mean, that's more than a lot of people have, and it's going to be a free for all in that district. I think they got 6 people running for it now.
Right, but I mean, I can understand that being.
It's the name recognition, and you only need 20, 25, 30 points in a 5 or 6 way split race, and you got name recognition. Yeah, I mean, I can see the path for him. I see what his thinking on it is. But,
and then once he gets into office, he'll be ineffective.
Hey, if we had Ben Jones, that's Cooter on Dukes of Hazzard. For those of you that are unfamiliar, if Cooter can get in Congress, we can let Clay Aiken in, I reckon. So certainly no worse than some folks we already got in there. So best of luck to him. We'll see what he does. But I won't vote for him, no.
And this morning you had a guest on, and you guys were bumping heads a little bit on one of my heroes, Mr. Elon Musk.
Yeah.
What was that about?
The third time we've had to talk about it. Cooper Conway's on. We've had him on the show before. Great guy, educational expert. Michael and me, you talked about Michael Siegel earlier. He's on the show regularly. Me and him talk about you cannot get away from Elon Musk right now, because of course he was Times Person of the Year, and we got into that with Michael. But here's my thing: there's things he does that I like. There's things that I really abhor. He's a complicated guy.
We all are.
But even though I don't care for him in a lot of respects, we need to have a place in society for the eccentric, the eccentric billionaire inventor that is, whatever else you think of him, he is pushing the ball forward, even though I don't like him. There needs to be a place in society for him. And we get into, and Cooper brought this up, and I thought it's a fair point, we get into this envious thing of, well, the billionaire isn't paying enough taxes, and you're completely missing the things that he is doing for society and science and culture. I've been pretty clear where I'm at on Musk. I love the SpaceX stuff. I think that's really important. I think that's generationally important, historically important stuff he's doing that. I don't like the Tesla stuff. It's a Ponzi scheme. Well, Ponzi scheme's a little harsh, but it's a subsidized scheme. It's not a car company. It's a luxury brand, but we'll do that rant some other day. I really don't care for how he conducts himself on social media and publicly. He acts like an overgrown toddler. He's very immature. Things like the way he handled the tunnel rescue or the cave rescue out in South Asia. You remember that? He actually ended up getting sued because he just said, indefensibly horrible stuff about people that are out rescuing kids out of a flooded cave. Like, what are you doing? However, having said all that, you have to have a place in society for these eccentric billionaire geniuses, because they are pushing the ball forward on things like science, because he has the wherewithal and the drive and the passion and the money to make it happen. And you need to take that good and weigh it against the bad. And I think on measure, you need what my father would call characters, just kind of eccentric, weird people. You need characters in the world. And we geared it because Cooper's thing is education. It's what he does for young voices. In our education system, are we developing Elon Musk's? And remember, Musk went to University of Pennsylvania. That's an Ivy League school. So it's not like he walked off you know what I'm saying? He's part of the system too.
He wasn't coming out of the community college.
No, he grew up wealthy. He's from South Africa. His father was in mining and precious metals and gems and these sorts of things. His mom's a model of all things now. But he's a weird dude, but he grew up weird. He grew up rich. He grew up eccentric, and that's what you got. You got a weird, rich, eccentric dude. But we need people like that. We have this. We talked about it in an education way, because if you're just funneling people straight to colleges and never letting them develop those eccentric qualities, sometimes you miss out on the best things they might have to offer society or culture or technology or whatever. Because if you're slamming people into humanities courses, maybe they don't become that engineer. They don't become that, mad scientist creating stuff. And that's something we talked about. It's a great conversation. I hope people check it out. Cooper Conway. And yesterday's Heard Tell, most watched, most viewed. I dare say it was viral. Just insane numbers that show Monday did on long COVID. Morgan Stevens, if you missed it, please, Facebook page, YouTube page, the podcast versions, you have to listen to this interview with Morgan. I had amazing. Dozens and dozens of messages and emails from people. I'm talking people crying. Like, I just sat there and cried because finally somebody explained what I've been going through. Like, covering a story the way nobody else is covering it. And she works for freaking CNN. And she's sitting there like, nobody's covering this. Why aren't people covering this? And they think at least 6 million people that are dealing with this right now.
And please
go find that interview. It's so good. I'm so proud that we did it.
Right? I mean, this is the whole idea behind the long COVID is how long it lasts. I mean, it's the symptoms
and we have no idea. And this is every major disease outbreak like this. You have this. We had it during when I had our buddy Dave Damien on. He was one of the early HIV guys, and when they first got diagnosed, like, they just called it a syndrome because they have no idea what it is. It's the same. Anytime you have a major disease outbreak, a viral disease outbreak, you have whatever the disease name is, blank syndrome, because they don't know what the after effects are, because it takes years of research. And that's what's happening right now to these long COVID people, is they don't have the research yet. We know it's coming, but nobody's surprised, but nobody's talking about it. They're not talking about these people that are having massive, massive after effects, and it's just screwing their whole lives up. And you have somebody like Morgan, I believe she was late 20s, early 30s at this time. Young lady, perfectly healthy, and was just bedfast for months. Like, that's not normal. And then, you get doctor. Imagine the indignity. I think the heart of this interview. Imagine the indignity. She goes to the ER, and this is weeks after she had her initial COVID spell where she was sick, right? Flu-like symptoms, all the normal COVID experience.
Right.
She goes to the ER because she literally cannot sleep. She's tremoring. She's non-functional, and she goes to the ER begging for help. And the doctor sends her home and goes, "Hey, I can't do anything for you, but you might want to watch this special on CNN about long COVID," which is where she works. And she goes,
Wow.
She worked on it. It's like, can you imagine the indignity of that? Which I can, because when I had my health issues, I had to sit in front of doctors who told me I was crazy and I needed to go to mental health because there's nothing wrong with me. When I knew good and well I was, and I was vindicated later on by doctors who really cared enough to find out what was wrong with me. This thing has taken a life of its own on. This episode is, I'm not joking when I say I have people messaging me crying, like, I don't feel alone now. Thankfully, somebody told this story, that kind of stuff. So please find that, and
because it is a
on the
personal
YouTube
journey.
page.
It's her personal journey.
It
It's
is
not
so
just
powerful to
somebody,
hear her
right?
tell her no. And then, but then, she's also a journalist, so she talks about, she's trying to figure out some research on this. So she ended up traveling on her own hook to Germany, trying to find some answers to this stuff, and ended up being part of a study out there. And they're starting to find out some stuff, blood related, how this COVID is a virus that affects the blood-brain barrier, which is really complicated, and I'm not going to get into right now. But it's really cutting edge medical stuff, and it's coming from these people that are just advocating for themselves because nobody will give them the time of day right now.
And it's the one story being left out because it can't be politicized to sell cars, carpets, and candy bars.
Correct. And it's under the radar, but that's exactly the kind of stories we want to cover on Her Tone. We're very proud of this episode, and it's doing remarkable numbers. It's by far, today it'll be the most watched YouTube video we've ever had on the show in 8 or 9 months of having Her Tell. It's definitely the biggest weekly show since we started doing this back in December. So please check it out. Please find it. You folks, you're going to want this one and bookmark it, and you're going to want to be able to share it to people who are struggling with this.
Yep, a lot of questions, a lot of answers, and a lot of information. But certainly at a personal level, which I think is what's missing from a lot of the reporting, is, as you pointed out, it's the. I even caught part of one of the broadcasts where the host was actually thanking the guest for being the most popular, most often used person to speak on just about every subject they had pop up. So there wasn't a whole lot of discussion of the experience. There was a lot of discussion of the politics and the rhetoric behind it, but not a lot of personal connection as to this is what's happening, this is what it feels like, and this is what's, this is what I had to go through just to find out that this is a real thing, as opposed to just having somebody on who's like an expert on everything generic.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We try, when we have these people on, they are experts on their fields. Michael, you talked about Michael Siegel. He had a great tweet last night. He said, I have 2 PhDs in astrophysics, and I can't figure out this ESPN app to watch this football game. What a terrible product. But these are, M. Carpenter, I'm talking to today. We're going to be talking some true crime stuff. Cooper is one of these young voices, these college age and just out of college folks. And I've formalized my relationship with them. I'm on their page now, Young Voices, doing some mentoring with them because that's important to me. That's, shaping
You're like
the
Uncle
next
Andrew
generation.
to him.
Yeah, I'm the old. My Twitter bio actually says oldest, youngest voice. We're the geriatric wing of Young Voices now. But it's important to me. It's like I don't want to just spew stuff into the ether. Like, I want to affect the next generation of commentators because they need to do it right, because it's important. We want to have on these are experts in their fields, like Michael, like M,
right?
The regulars on the show. but they're also normal people. They're not just talking heads that are paid to talk and don't care anymore because they just sit in a studio and blather. They're still in their fields of study. They're still in their professions. They're still normal people. They're
still paying
participate.
bills.
You know, they can talk to you in a normal way. Like you have somebody like Morgan Stevens on. Yes, she's a producer for CNN. Yes, she's a journalist, but she can tell her own story and still have those standards of here's truth and here's not truth and being objective and things like that. But it's also her personal story. These are the people we want to highlight on Her Tell, and we're going to keep highlighting them, and we're going to keep having them on. And we're really proud to do it, man.
I think that's what makes it such a phenomenal program.
Yeah, I hope so.
I'm going to have to expand y'all some more.
Yeah, we're doing good, but I'm about to lost my voice, and I got another thing I got to do in a little bit, buddy, so I'll jump off. But you're doing a great job, sir, and I appreciate you. And sorry I've been MIA for a while, but I'm still trying to kind of nurse the voice here, there, and yonder. I still got COVID in my house. Youngest has it now. So we're going to do another week of it, looks like. But we're trying to soldier on. We missed one show. I apologize for that. I literally could not talk. Like, if I could have even squeaked, I would have put out something. But my throat was literally swelled shut. Like, it was one of those things where I couldn't even swallow. So I was like, okay, this ain't happening. Like, I'll do gravel, but you can't do this.
Yeah, so, if you're just gasping for the air itself, it's certainly.
If you can't hear me, there's no point.
I'll have to get you Siri that'll do text to voice for you.
I did in the outro. I was like, look, the most precious thing the audience gives us is their time. I'm never going to waste it. And if you can't hear me, it's not quality. We're not going to do it. So.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to take a break. I thank you so much, Andrew Donaldson from ordinary-times.com with the errant cat.
Yep.
That thing is about as incorrigible as I am.
Yeah, it's like my 16-year-old. She only comes out of her room when I go to record something. It's like clockwork.
Oh, look, the red light's on.
Yeah, the ring light's on. All right, buddy. You have a good day.
I'll see you in a bit, man. Thanks again.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Andrew Donaldson from ordinary-times.com. We'll be right back after these messages, news, and weather break. And a word from our sponsors and supporters. Thank you so much. From the Asylum on the Big Talker Online. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. Investigators are trying to determine why safety doors failed to close in a New York City high-rise when a deadly fire broke out. The failures allowed thick smoke to billow through the tower and kill 17 people, including 8 children, in the city's deadliest blaze in more than 3 decades. Fire officials determined that an electric space heater started the fire Sunday in the 19-story building. President Joe Biden in recent days has signaled out the protection of voting rights in the U.S. as a top priority. He's heading to Georgia with the vice president this afternoon to help cement that point. Civil rights activists are afraid it may already be too late. While in Atlanta, Biden will visit Ebenezer Baptist Church. Major civil rights groups say they need action, not another speech. Former American Idol runner-up Clay Aiken says he's running for Congress again in North Carolina, this time hoping to succeed the retiring U.S. Representative David Price. Aiken announced his bid for the 6th district seat in the Research Triangle area yesterday. Aiken has had a career in music, theater, and reality shows, but also won the Democratic nomination for another district in 2014 before losing in the general election. Aiken would be the first openly LGBTQ person elected in Congress from the South if he won. In New Hanover County, development on the west bank of the Cape Fear River could bring hotels, housing, office space, and retail, but the plans come with plenty of pushback from environmentalists. Last night, New Hanover County commissioners were set to discuss some of those plans. At the beginning of the meeting, commissioners unanimously voted to table the discussion on the potential development. And finally, a Brunswick County woman won a $1 million lottery prize. Wendy Diaz of Southport tried her luck on a $10 scratch-off ticket and won the prize. Diaz chose the lump sum of $600,000. Congratulations. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. A cold one on tap across the Cape Fear, likely our coldest day of the winter season thus far, as temperatures struggle to get into the low to middle 40s later this afternoon, despite the sunny skies out there. Heading into the overnight hours tonight, though, we are going to see mostly clear skies, temperatures turning cold once again as we drop all the way down to the low to middle 20s and the upper 20s for coastal areas tonight. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
I'm K.O. Davis from K.O.'s Coast to Coast Tree, and I want to be your tree man.
When your trees need cut, 2 letters to know. One is a K, the other is an O. K.O.
Tree man.
Proper trimming is the most important thing that you can do, so don't just hire anybody to do it. You need someone that knows what they're doing.
K.O.
Call the professionals at K.O.'s Coast to Coast Tree and visit KOTrees.com.
If you want to talk about culture and politics without all the caterwauling, then you'll love Hertel Radio with me, your host, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning, 6 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m. right here on the Big Talker. Catch it on the Listen Live tab on the app or watch on the Facebook page.
That's right, you're tuned into the Asylum on the Big Talker Online. Where we kick your morning every kind of sideways. Yes, this is a morning program unlike any other morning program. Because that's who we are. I am TK. We just had Andrew Donaldson from ordinary-times.com. Covering a few of the fun issues that have popped up, including Mr. Aiken running for office. His relevance ran out, 12, 15 years ago? I could be wrong, but here we are. If all you have is name recognition and you guys actually vote for him, it's your own damn fault. That's all I'm saying. He could surprise us all and be the most amazing problem-solving cat ever, but job description really, his curriculum vitae really doesn't reflect that type of leadership, that type of experience. But, that's not for me. That's not my district. That's not my area. Also covered a little bit of the eccentricities of Elon Musk, though I still don't quite understand the issue with the man. I mean, yeah, he's a little nuts, but he's kind of smart. He might be privileged, but he's used that to do helpful things. I'm not saying he's the world's greatest philanthropist, right? But he at least has an idea, a vision, and he's holding to it. And he's made steps along the way that seemed logical and progressive. And he's doing stuff the rest of us aren't even willing to try. So as far as that goes, he is doing. You got to give him credit for that. Aiken, I'm not sure what he's doing. Obviously, he is in need of an income for a job that requires no skill or experience, apparently. All it takes is name recognition. Oh, hey, he's one of our own. we'll elect him. He knows. He's never even led a band, for Christ's sake. I get that he's North Carolina's hero son or whatever. That's fine, but I mean, that's how we had Betsy DeVos in charge of education there for a while. It just wasn't one of our shining moments. Again, I think experience goes a lot further than anything else. Having some sort of history. That's why it was so much fun to speak with Mr. Adams. His wife, as he put it, he has married up. And her experience and CV certainly shows a history in the public domain, if you will, I guess, normal person job, not a government job. All of which required leadership skills, communication skills. She excelled at all of them and is now moving into taking these skills and applying them to helping out her community. That's the path it should be. It shouldn't be that, hey, I'm famous, or I was, and I don't want people to forget me, so I'm going to put my name out there and get elected. I just don't see it, man. I personally just don't see it. This is not something that you are experienced with. Neither am I, but then again, that's why I'm not running for office. But I'm looking for people who are running for office, willing to hop on the radio and answer some questions for people that don't know what the hell's going on, or are maybe less informed. I mean, to follow Andrew's lead, if I have legal questions, I'm going to ask a lawyer. If I have space questions, I'm going to ask a space guy. Right? If I have political questions, I'm going to ask a politic guy. That's the way it works. I mean, if you have one talking head hired by your station to do nothing but comment on everything that goes by, you're not going to get a lot of quality insight into what's going on. However, if you have people that are in the game, that are in that field of study on the day-to-day, they are generally going to have a little bit more insight and are able to explain it a little bit better because they're not trying to bamboozle you into putting more money into their political action committee or their campaign re-election fund. I mean, it's just because my neurons cross like this, it almost mirrors the debate that Ken Ham and Bill Nye had. If anybody has seen that, 90% of the time that Ken Ham was on, he was asking for money. He was begging for money. He was soliciting donations actively, whereas Bill Nye was basically debunking just about everything mentioned and then begging people to please go to school. Please don't give money to this moron in a sinking boat in the middle of Kentucky where he bamboozled the state into giving him the land for $1 or something stupid, paid no taxes on it. It's an abysmal failure. But the state wrote all in several $1 million. Help pay to build it, help pay for the land, help pay for the parking, everything. Not one dime in return. I wonder how that saga is going to play out through this whole pandemic thing. I should look up the numbers and completely roast what's happened. But that's kind of who we are. That's... Anyway, through that whole... It was two-sided, right? One guy is talking about, look, get smart, get educated, do the right thing. And the other guy's like, please send us money so we stay alive. Right? Oh. Well, that's a bummer. Apparently, this is going back a little bit. This is just for fun. I don't know, what's the date on this? Updated 2019, so this has been a minute. Because I've not been really paying attention to what's going on out there. The owners of the Ark Encounter attraction in Williamstown, Kentucky are demanding their insurance company reimburse them for rain-related repairs. The religious tourist destination says heavy rains in 2017 and 18 caused a landslide on its access road, leading to nearly $1 million in property damage. But the insurance company, Allied World Insurance Holdings of Switzerland, has refused to reimburse its client for repair expenses. The Swiss insurance company hasn't responded to the lawsuit in court filings. So that's them. And I'm going to see if I don't have any more information on them proper. Right? This is just an amazing story where Kentucky did this to themselves. And the voters are all for it. This is why education is so important. They weren't talking about a lot of it. Yeah, it looks like somebody's paying money for this. Ooh, it looks like they're trying to expand a Tower of Babel exhibit. That's pretty genius. Yeah, nobody's going to display that one right now. Well, I tell you what, I shall gird my loins and prepare for your last hour of entertainment here at the Asylum on the Big Talker Online.
Keeping Oak Island informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Here's 1 minute of tree knowledge in 30 seconds with K.O. Davis.
It's important that you have somebody, a trained professional, to trim your trees. There are these guys out there that just hack trees, and that's the worst thing in the world that you can do. Don't let somebody hat rack your trees. That's a tree term for hat rack. You know how they just cut a tree and it looks like it's just got like a hat rack? These guys just go up and just cut the trees off, and they don't cut it back to the proper spot. Call us, because we care about your trees.
Visit KO's coasttocoasttree.com.
Don't let some yahoo hat rack your trees.
Hello, I'm Jeff Reichenbach with WWAY News. Investigators are trying to determine why safety doors failed to close in a New York City high-rise when a deadly fire broke out. The failures allowed thick smoke to billow through the tower and kill 17 people, including 8 children, in the city's deadliest blaze in more than 3 decades. Fire officials determined that an electric space heater started the fire Sunday in the 19-story building. President Joe Biden in recent days has signaled out the protection of voting rights in the U.S. as a top priority. He's heading to Georgia with the vice president this afternoon to help cement that point. Civil rights activists are afraid it may already be too late. While in Atlanta, Biden will visit Ebenezer Baptist Church. Major civil rights groups say they need action, not another speech. Former American Idol runner-up Clay Aiken says he's running for Congress again in North Carolina, this time hoping to succeed the retiring U.S. Representative David Price. Aiken announced his bid for the 6th district seat in the Research Triangle area yesterday. Aiken has had a career in music, theater, and reality shows, but also won the Democratic nomination for another district in 2014 before losing in the general election. Aiken would be the first openly LGBTQ person elected in Congress from the South if he won. In New Hanover County, development on the west bank of the Cape Fear River could bring hotels, housing, office space, and retail, but the plans come with plenty of pushback from environmentalists. Last night, New Hanover County commissioners were set to discuss some of those plans. At the beginning of the meeting, commissioners unanimously voted to table the discussion on the potential development. And finally, a Brunswick County woman won a $1 million lottery prize. Wendy Diaz of Southport tried her luck on a $10 scratch-off ticket and won the prize. Diaz chose the lump sum of $600,000. Congratulations. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. A cold one on tap across the Cape Fear, likely our coldest day of the winter season thus far, as temperatures struggle to get into the low to middle 40s later this afternoon despite the sunny skies out there. Heading into the overnight hours tonight, though, we are going to see mostly clear skies, temperatures turning cold once again as we drop all the way down to the low to middle 20s and the upper 20s for coastal areas tonight. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com. We wouldn't sell you a dining room table, so don't buy a medical device from a furniture store. US Med Express is Wilmington's leading supplier of golden technology lift and sleep chairs, carrying a variety of models in our showroom at 1733 Dawson Street. Our chairs lead the industry in power lift recliner features and advances in technology. Our chairs are FDA certified as medical devices, which means it's 100% tax deductible and helps with a number of medical conditions, including arthritis, poor circulation, and sleep apnea. Give us a call today at 910-500-6162 or stop by and experience our chairs for yourself at 1733 Dawson Street. That's 910-500-6162. 1733 Dawson Street in Wilmington. US Med Express.
O'Leary's Automotive Repair has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
That's right. Time to get up. If you haven't got it, you've already lost it. That bus done passed you by. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Asylum on the Big Talker Online, where no subject or all subjects are taboo or not taboo. The Big Talker is talking for everyone, including me, only because I took everything home with me and decided that, well, somebody needs to be on the air at 7 in the morning. Why not me? Plenty of other idiots out there just spouting off. I'll give it a shot. And for about a month now, I've been hosting one of the worst radio programs on the air, on Possible. And it gets good when I have good people on here. Smart people like Mr. Gouldsby, Mr. Adams, and Mr. Donaldson. I need to expand that family. Get more smart people in here who know a little more in depth of what's going on, what's at play, what the players are like, what the roles are, what the rules are, even as we try to change them on the day-to-day, trying to scare everybody. That seems to be the latest commodity, to scare everyone. Here's something scary. a nightclub entertainer from 12 years ago is running for Congress in North Carolina. And the scary thing is, with the name recognition, it's quite possible that he could win. And then we will see what the effectiveness would be. But it just does not read like the curriculum vitae of someone who should be a congressman. It just, I don't know. I mean, at least the bartender who's in office in Congress right now, at least she studied this stuff. I'd like to see what this guy's educational background and qualifications for this position are. In fact, I think it'd be fun if he would call into the show and say, hey, this is who I am and this is what I got going on. Prove me wrong. Scientists and engineers were okay with that because we learned from that. It's the wrong notes. Any musician will tell you it's the wrong notes that teach you how to play. So when you're wrong and you take corrective, take two. So when a person, scientist, engineer, discovers they are wrong, they take corrective measures in their own brain. We now understand more than we did 2, 3, 4, 6, 8,000 years ago, 800 years ago. Because we correct and adjust the information as we receive it. And we begin to understand things like scale, a word I mentioned yesterday. Let's take a look at the term scale, like the powers of 10. When you're studying something that's 1 foot by 1 foot, you have a scale. But if you're looking at something by 1 mile by 1 mile, that 1 foot by 1 foot object is really hard to see. And we discovered this on scale, that when you're splashing around in the bathtub is a lot different than when you drop a really big spacecraft into the ocean. The scale is much larger when trying to land a rocket ship than when in a real rocket onto a boat in the middle of the Atlantic or Pacific or wherever the hell it was. Is on a much different scale than it is trying to land a little toy rocket powered by water and air. You remember those where you pump it up, you put water in a little rocket, you pump it up, and you let it loose, and it shoots up in the air, getting everything wet on the way? Same idea. Different scale. Same idea. And then we discovered other issues, you know. I mean, we have to look at scale in a real world, like the James Webb Telescope guys trying to deploy the heat shield. Went into a room with no furniture in it and just sat there with a flat bed sheet and just looked at all the ways, experimented with all the ways, tried all the ways to fold up a piece of cloth without snagging. And here's something fun to put in perspective. I think DeGrasse Tyson did this one. It is probably closer for you to get to the grocery store than it is for you to get to the moon. Actually, it's probably closer to get to the moon. Distance-wise. Okay, maybe not the grocery store. But many of the distances that we're talking about above the Earth are not that far if we look at it across the surface of the Earth, like getting from California to New York. It's still a pretty brutal task, certainly in these times, with everything involved to get there, but nothing compared to, getting to the moon. Holy cow, are you kidding? It might be about the same distance, but it's a lot easier to go over than up. How's that? I'll just put it there. And this is why we need more STEM in our school. We need more exploratory, where kids get to explore what interests them. That would be the educational format. You still teach them how to read, write, and to think, and to ask questions, and to be curious, But if they have an interest at a young age in something, chances are that could be developed into a lifelong passion and develop children that live and create for themselves a higher standard. And this is something I find interesting in some of the articles recently, is that we want to hold these people to a higher standard, higher than our own even. That needs to be inherent. You can't legislate morality. You cannot legislate ethics. But you can take a stronger stand against unethical behavior. Make it punishable by law. Make it shameful. Make it uncomfortable. Make it weird. Let them know we're paying attention. We got something to say about this. Stop electing stupid people that have no connection to the real world around them, and start electing people that are solution oriented, that have proven through their career in their civilian life, not just employ these people because they are unemployable otherwise. I mean, if we're all being honest here, I would attest, I would aver, state, posit, offer, prefer that Mr. Aiken's curriculum vitae does not qualify him for much more than being a bouncer. He obviously has no marketable skill and therefore is going into a career where no marketable skill is required. Our last president would be a beautiful example of that. Name recognition could do it. And then suddenly, Clay is going to be in with better health care than any of us will ever know, doing stuff he knows nothing about, being responsible to people he cares nothing about, knows nothing about. But hey, at least he's got a position and a salary in health care. And the whole health care. He's got vision and dental included. And he'll be making decisions and voting on issues that affect regular people, people with mortgages and cars, not reality musicians. I wouldn't even put him as artists yet. But that's me. I'm pretty harsh on that kind of thing. I mean, I know cats personally that I work with, writing their own material, recording their own material, performing their own material, and doing it day in and day out. Doing an amazing job of it and has no need to run for Congress. On the other end of the spectrum, one of the guitar players I got to work with for the longest time was a city councilman. And I was never so proud as to have a heavy metal metalhead guitar playing buddy as a city councilman. That's pretty rocking. But he had the experience for it, right? He has experience with leadership. Not just in the band, because that was sort of a democracy. But in real leadership, in his entrepreneurial pursuits. I mean, I'm keeping it generic because I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it or not, because I don't know that much about it or not, but I loved working with the man. He was smart, still is, still a good guitar player, and still a really good leader. But he decided after a couple of terms that family life and career was getting to be a bit much. So he had to bow out and continue on his regular life and raise an amazing little family. So maybe Clay can do a good job. I'm just not convinced right now. I have not heard anything other than his name recognition. And I think a lot of people like me are going to be reticent to elect another pop reality star from 12 years ago. Doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, our education system isn't working. Because if this guy had been educated, he would realize he's probably the least qualified person to be on this ballot. But as a species, we no longer care about qualifications or merit-based functionality. Everybody gets a trophy. Anybody can run for office. Anybody can vote. And remember, the people voting were educated in the public system where they don't even teach the Constitution. You are no longer required to read it, study it, or understand it. It's my right! It's my right! You have no idea what your rights are because you never read it. That's why I automatically think it's a short version of. Anyway, M. Carpenter from ordinary-times.com has covered this quite well. This whole insightful language, fire in a crowded theater type stuff. So if you've never read the Constitution, you can't tell me what your rights are, because you don't know. You just assume you know, because you saw it on Facebook. It was a little meme that we can compare the Second Amendment to a Rocky and Bullwinkle scene, right? I mean, it's just no. People, if you want to know what's in the Constitution, if you want to know what your rights are, it's in the Constitution. And if you read it, you gain a much better understanding. If you don't understand it, you can ask people who do. That's normally why we would teach it in school, but we stopped doing that so that the people who run the political structure can manage it with stupid people voting on things like name recognition. And of course, we've shifted all the money and the interest in the bright colors and catchy slogans over to the national conventions, the national elections, federal elections, when it's our local DA that determines what gets prosecuted in our courts. It's our local sheriffs that enforce this stuff, the police chief, all of these elected positions at the local level, which has the lowest turnout ever, all the time, consistently. So if there's 3 people running and only 100 people vote, it's not going to take much. It needs to not be a popularity contest. Looking at you, Clay. It needs to be a leadership contest. And I think instead of it being a contest where everybody who wants to be in office can run for office, it should be somebody who's nominated for a reason. It should be treated like a university tenure. Something you have to aspire to and show by example that you're qualified for tenure. Because that's sort of how these guys treat it. They're thinking like Mitch McConnell, my God, that dude has been in office longer than he has been alive. I mean, from the moment that boy sprouted hair in the wrong places, did he become a political thing. And the more you hang out with lizards, the more you look like a lizard. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle you're on. They all decay into some sort of decrepit, voluminous riches. It's just, if you haven't seen it already. Another good thing to look at, the effectiveness and the results thereof the effectiveness of and the results on previous presidents. Like all the presidents who actually stressed their job and cared about it came out of the White House with white hair. Obama, Bush, Clinton, all of them, except Trump. Because Trump wasn't there to do any leading. Trump wasn't there to do anything helpful. Therefore, he never stressed. Nope, he just kept munching on the KFC and the burgers. That was more his interest. But I get it. Name recognition is all you need. You don't have to be effective. Again, making stupid people famous. Please stop making stupid people famous. Stop electing stupid people that have no business being in office. Just, man, the more I think about it, the more incensed I get. Right? Because I think a lot of us could do a lot more than we are. But we'll be right back after this news and weather break and a few words from our sponsors. And I promise you'll love it when we come back.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. Investigators are trying to determine why safety doors failed to close in a New York City high-rise when a deadly fire broke out. The failures allowed thick smoke to billow through the tower and kill 17 people, including 8 children, in the city's deadliest blaze in more than 3 decades. Fire officials determined that an electric space heater started the fire Sunday in the 19-story building. President Joe Biden in recent days has signaled out the protection of voting rights in the U.S. as a top priority. He's heading to Georgia with the vice president this afternoon to help cement that point. Civil rights activists are afraid it may already be too late. While in Atlanta, Biden will visit Ebenezer Baptist Church. Major civil rights groups say they need action, not another speech. Former American Idol runner-up Clay Aiken says he's running for Congress again in North Carolina, this time hoping to succeed the retiring U.S. Representative David Price. Aiken announced his bid for the 6th district seat in the Research Triangle area yesterday. Aiken has had a career in music, theater, and reality shows, but also won the Democratic nomination for another district in 2014 before losing in the general election. Aiken would be the first openly LGBTQ person elected in Congress from the South if he won. In New Hanover County, development on the west bank of the Cape Fear River could bring hotels, housing, office space, and retail, but the plans come with plenty of pushback from environmentalists. Last night, New Hanover County commissioners were set to discuss some of those plans. At the beginning of the meeting, commissioners unanimously voted to table the discussion on the potential development. And finally, a Brunswick County woman won a $1 million lottery prize. Wendy Diaz of Southport tried her luck on a $10 scratch-off ticket and won the prize. Diaz chose the lump sum of $600,000. Congratulations. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. A cold one on tap across the Cape Fear, likely our coldest day of the winter season thus far, as temperatures struggle to get into the low to middle 40s later this afternoon, despite the sunny skies out there. Heading into the overnight hours tonight, though, we are going to see mostly clear skies, temperatures turning cold once again as we drop all the way down to the low to middle 20s and the upper 20s for coastal areas tonight. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Well, hey, y'all, it's Holly Brewer.
And Amy Ludwig. And Kristen Ludwig.
From Just Think, the podcast. The podcast where we don't want to tell you what to think. We just challenge you to do it. We're happy to have some of our episodes featured right here on 106.7 The Big Talker on Saturdays at 11 a.m. So we hope you join us in the conversation and most importantly, just think.
I'm a construction superintendent working on a new housing project in the area. I've always loved being a part of a construction crew, watching the plans come to life. But I wanted more. I went to CFCC and trained in construction management technology. Now my skills allow me to have the life I once dreamed of. I make great money and can get a job anywhere. I got my start at CFCC, and you can too. Visit cfcc.edu/trades and get started today.
If you want to talk about culture and politics without all the caterwauling, then you'll love Hertel Radio with me, your host, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning, 6 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m. right here on the Big Talker. Catch it on the Listen Live tab on the app or watch on the Facebook page.
Experience with music, theater, and reality shows. Running for Congress. No experience, but name recognition. That'll get you in there. That'll do it. Obviously, I concentrated on the wrong aspect of my career. I was so concerned about the protocols and signal strengths and such. I could have been a congressman with amazing, fantastic health care that I never have to pay for. And a job that I never have to show up for while being fed and housed for free wherever I go. Yeah, that's the career for me. We're smart people. I mean, just think, if we had people with educational experience in the Department of Education, how much education might actually occur? Ooh, too soon? I don't know. We do what we can with what we got. And right now, we're not working with a lot of Mensa candidates. Good way of putting it there, Andrew, being top down versus bottom up. But that's how we've designed it. That's how we've decorated it. That's how we've bunted it. Yeah, we put the red, white, and blue bunting out there and shout out all our freedoms and stuff when it's time for the federal election, but when your local municipal elections happen, nothing but crickets. There's no money in it. You can't afford to advertise. I mean, that's ridiculous. That's why we should take the money out of politics absolutely and completely. No more lobbying. You can write your letter. These are our concerns from the NRA. You should not be the most powerful political action committee in Washington. You shouldn't even be a force. You should be an interest, a hobby, a private, non-political entity. You like shooting, have at it. But it should not be a political movement. It should not be a lobbyist pouring millions of dollars. I mean, let's just do a quick Google. I need the keyboard for this because there's just too much typing. When you play guitar, you get calluses, and when you have calluses, iPads don't like to, listen to your fingers much. So, NRAPAC contributions. OpenSecrets.org. The official PAC name. Here we go. Party split by election cycle. In 1994, they gave over $1.3 million to the Republican candidates and a little over $300,000, maybe $400,000 to Democrat candidates. In 2020, what is that line? $600,000 in 2020. 2016, they gave, 700, looks like $750,000, maybe $800,000 to Republicans, and very little, like barely registering to the Democrats. Ooh, 2020 election cycle. They spent over $24 million. No, they raised $24 million and spent just a little less than that. In 2022, they raised a little over, what is that, 8 or 9 million, and spent like as little as possible. Here it is. They raised 23.4 million. This is 2019 to 2020. 23 million raised, 22.7 spent. Cash on hand 1.8 million, in cash on hand 2.5 million. No debt. Independent expenditures of 9 million. Isn't that incredible? Contributions from this PAC to federal candidates: 98.39% to Republicans, 1.61% to Democrats, for a grand total of $616,500. Contributions to this PAC from individual donors of $200 or more, $4.5 million. Money can't buy justice? To hell it can't. $24 million can fix a lot of justice. $24 million. Every one of these could have been used to, help lower the cost of EpiPens or cancer treatments or things like that. But no. This is $24 million to affect political decisions. It's grotesque, people. Individual pharmaceutical companies, how much money are they putting into the system to have laws passed so that we don't even know what's in the water anymore? Had a long conversation one evening with a geologist who was very upset because we have stuff in our water table that we can't identify. We know they are drugs. We know they are drugs from the drug companies, but because the drug companies are not required to release what their chemical compounds are, we have no way to break these compounds down so that we're not reintroducing Xanax into a generation of babies. You're worried about the fluoride in the water. You should be worried about the other stuff that's in the water. Chemours and Chemex and whatever else, Gen-X from Chemours, is just, that's what we're looking at as a distraction when we can't get our own drugs out of the water. Because the drugs go through your body, the body goes through, it goes through its process, and you flush the toilet, and the water goes out and settles into the ground and seeps through the ground, and all the nutrients are taken out, and what drips into the water table is supposed to be clean water. However, there's nothing to break down these components that have been introduced to our drug system and prescribed en masse to millions of people, many of whom don't need it. Another pretty good percentage is just popping these pills because they want something to do. They just want to take a drug. Right? Put on 5 or 6 nicotine patches. Take a bunch of Xanax or Elavil. It's safe. Of course, when it gets into the groundwater and we can't break it down, you are giving your child water from the tap that has chemical components in it that we are not allowed to know what they are. Because there was a political action committee or lobbyist somewhere who said, hey, when you make these laws about our drugs, make sure that we are not required to disclose what's in them. I mean, you think Adderall is bad now. Take a sample of any groundwater, stream water, and you'll find it. That's how bad it's gotten. I mean, you think about mercury in the fish. This is what we're doing to ourselves. We're popping medications like nothing, like candy mints. And we're not even worried about what it does to our body. And it's not even in our consciousness to think about what it's doing to the environment. And I don't mean just like, oh my God, we're going to have more rain. No. It's affecting our groundwater. So we have this cocktail of antidepressants and other daily habit drugs, right? Any of these psychotropics, for example, they don't break down. There's nothing to break them down. So they stay in that form until they're reconsumed by someone else drinking water, making coffee. It's not in massive doses, but still, 20 years of drinking groundwater, and you're going to have a pretty healthy dose. You're going to have a known amount in your system that can be traced, that can be, documented. So many parts per million is in your system because of the drugs that other people are taking and flushing down the toilet when their body is done with it. There's a lot of things that we need to look at. And all of it just to staying alive. Flush twice, it's a long way to Congress.
Keeping Ocean Isle informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Folks, you know you're all looking for that special gift. Lines are long, traffic is frustrating, supply chains in the news. Just take a deep breath. If you're anywhere near Oak Island, come by Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive. Avoid the traffic, the lines, the frustration, and get that extraordinary and special gift. From high-end diamond rings to Larimar, from necklaces to bracelets, watches, and unique jewelry. And you also get one-on-one service with their experienced staff. Great prices now, just in time for the holidays. Come by and check out Seaside Jewelers, 8801 East Oak Island Drive.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. Investigators are trying to determine why safety doors failed to close in a New York City high-rise when a deadly fire broke out. The failures allowed thick smoke to billow through the tower and kill 17 people, including 8 children, in the city's deadliest blaze in more than 3 decades. Fire officials determined that an electric space heater started the fire Sunday in the 19-story building. President Joe Biden in recent days has signaled out the protection of voting rights in the U.S. as a top priority. He's heading to Georgia with the vice president this afternoon to help cement that point. Civil rights activists are afraid it may already be too late. While in Atlanta, Biden will visit Ebenezer Baptist Church. Major civil rights groups say they need action, not another speech. Former American Idol runner-up Clay Aiken says he's running for Congress again in North Carolina, this time hoping to succeed the retiring U.S. Representative David Price. Aiken announced his bid for the 6th district seat in the Research Triangle area yesterday. Aiken has had a career in music, theater, and reality shows, but also won the Democratic nomination for another district in 2014 before losing in the general election. Aiken would be the first openly LGBTQ person elected in Congress from the South if he won. In New Hanover County, development on the west bank of the Cape Fear River could bring hotels, housing, office space, and retail, but the plans come with plenty of pushback from environmentalists. Last night, New Hanover County commissioners were set to discuss some of those plans. At the beginning of the meeting, commissioners unanimously voted to table the discussion on the potential development. And finally, a Brunswick County woman won a $1 million lottery prize. Wendy Diaz of Southport tried her luck on a $10 scratch-off ticket and won the prize. Diaz chose the lump sum of $600,000. Congratulations. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenbark. Have a great day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. A cold one on tap across the Cape Fear, likely our coldest day of the winter season thus far, as temperatures struggle to get into the low to middle 40s later this afternoon, despite the sunny skies out there. Heading into the overnight hours tonight, though, we are going to see mostly clear skies, temperatures turning cold once again as we drop all the way down to the low to middle 20s and the upper 20s for coastal areas tonight. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Well, hey, y'all, it's Holly Brewer.
And Amy Ludwig. And Kristen Ludwig.
From Just Think, the podcast. The podcast where we don't want to tell you what to think. We just challenge you to do it. We're happy to have some of our episodes featured right here on 106.7 The Big Talker on Saturdays at 11 a.m. So we hope you join us in the conversation and most importantly, just think.
I'm a construction superintendent working on a new housing project in the area. I've always loved being a part of a construction crew, watching the plans come to life. But I wanted more. I went to CFCC and trained in construction management technology. Now my skills allow me to have the life I once dreamed of. I make great money and can get a job anywhere. I got my start at CFCC, and you can too. Visit cfcc.edu/trades and get started today.
If you want to talk about culture and politics without all the caterwauling, then you'll love Hertel Radio with me, your host, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning, 6 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m. right here on the Big Talker. Catch it on the Listen Live tab on the app or watch on the Facebook page.
Big bang, baby. We banging here at the Asylum on the Big Talker Online, as I just talk over somebody who's singing because it's annoying. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the bottom of the hour, and I'm about to leave you with some stuff that might or might not get me in trouble. This evening, as we do every Tuesday, we have the All Things Brunswick show being streamed from the GOP headquarters, relayed through the office studio station arrangement here in my garage. And I'm going to meet with them here in a moment and have a good time with lunch. And, it's, well, oh, yeah. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave y'all with some music being streamed from one of our services here. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. How's that sound? Let's see if I got this right. So if I put that one there, then I put this one here. Oh, I see what happens because I need you here. Now that's a 10. So you're at 9:59. I should do it that way. Give me just a moment here, folks. I'm trying to have a moment with my computer. Oops. Still did it wrong. But that's how we learn. That is how we learn. So that goes there. And see, this goes here. And I'm going to let the computer take over. And for the next 14 minutes, you get to enjoy something other than me. And I'll see you tomorrow on the Asylum on the Big Talker Online.
Keeping Ocean Isle informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Folks, you know you're all looking for that special gift. Lines are